I think I asked you at our awards sort of night a couple of years back. Who do you think was the most talented or one of the most hard-working sort of players you've coached in your time, mate, or had a role in developing?
So, out and out, I had Brodie Croft as a 17-year-old playing Melbourne Inga at East, and then was lucky enough to catch up with him on his Storm journey through the 20s. So just what he did in that first season of Melbourne Inga, and at 17, I've never seen a kid so diligent with his preparation and how he fuels his body, and he probably needed to. He was at Churchy school at the time, and in a great year that had Barisi, Kalen Ponga, Jaden Sewer, himself. I think they, if they didn't win back-to-back premierships, they went pretty close to it through those 2 years. But just seeing the way that he would train, like we used to split our pre-season up into 3 blocks. So you'd do your gym, you'd have a conditioning session, then you'd have skills, and in between each one, he'd grab a Mars bar and refuel. And I'd never seen anyone do that. So, and then when we met again at the Storm 20s, he was the only kid that was finishing school that didn't go on schoolies. So we started the week schoolies started, so he was the only kid who didn't do it, and trained the house down for that week. And I guess has a bit of a reward. Melbourne NRL squad were chasing some halves numbers, so they sent him down there, and he just stayed there. He never actually came back. Like, he came back to play with us, but he literally moved from Melbourne from then. So that's just out and out, determination to want to succeed. And he's, probably unfairly got targeted as the Cooper Cronk clone and whatnot when he went down there. And he obviously hasn't set the world on fire this year either. But I know that he'll be working hard to correct that. So from that perspective, in 2013, the Storm had signed Munster. So not that I did a great deal of work with him, but just out and out, he'd have to be the most freakish one that I've, from a coaching perspective. Yeah. You look at him when he goes to the line, there'll be 4 blokes on him, and he just stands up and tackles, and it's just phenomenal strength and just use of knowing how to use his body. So that perspective. So it was really good. And then, I love Justin Oliver's story, connection to PNG, but I just love that persistence. Justin's obviously a really smart man. He's got an applied science degree. But the beauty of him is just that, even though when he left the Hunters to go to the Storm, he got there and he thought he did everything right. When he got there, he realised every habit that he had was the opposite of what Craig wanted. So just that persistence to stay with it and do it and get better and better. And, it took him 2.5 years to develop into an NRL talent, but now you can't see him not being the starting left centre for the Storm. So I love that sort of stuff. Yeah, bloody oath.
Mate, like with the Falcons last year, there was, a heap of sort of pranksters, a couple of jokers in the side, mate. Obviously, you always see in the post-game interviews, Harry and Cooper John sort of giving it to each other back and forth. What was the banter sort of like in that squad last year?
Oh yeah, that was huge. I guess you probably don't have the last name Johns if you don't have any pranks in you. So it was always really good. And Harry's a freak, and I probably should have mentioned him in the previous question. He's a really great kid, and Rocky boys.
Yeah. Got to rep the CQ boys.
Yeah. So he's had a fair trot to get to where he is with his calf injury and his shoulder injury, and I think the shoulder one nearly cost him his life with getting staff and everything. So and you only have to see what he's done, I guess, at the Tigers, and to be standing ovation after 9 games. Not many players get that. So
chanting his name as he's walking off the field.
Yeah, so he's a freak, and he every time we played on TV last year, he won the Man of the Match award by a country mile, and I still don't know how he didn't win the Player of the Year award. But they're always playing tricks on each other. Like there'll be they'll get interviewed and they'll say, "Oh, you just wanted, congratulate Cooper Johns on, getting engaged over the weekend," or stuff like that. It's just stuff totally untrue. And it's but it's great to see those characters because, I grew up with characters in rugby league, and to some degree they become a bit robotic, and so it's good to see a bit of that coming back. And